Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to the highly anticipated Christian Zahler versus David Rivera 2 virtual press conference. Listen, if you were there for the first fight or if you've seen the first fight as, over, I don't know, 150,000 people now have viewed on our Instagram channel, you know that this was one for the ages. They say big things come in small packages, and this fight didn't last too long, but it went this way, and then it went that way, and then it just went crazy. And I got to credit to you guys. This was one of the most amazing and exciting combat scenarios I've ever seen that lasted 2 minutes. I mean, it was just unreal. So first and foremost, I want to introduce these fantastic fighters who are going to be main eventing at Fighters Rep 18. First and foremost, we've got David Rivera. I guess David over here to the right of the screen. How are you doing, David?
Doing great. Got a little workout in. Doing awesome.
I love it. And you guys can follow David at I Guess David right there on the bottom of the screen on his Instagram. And then we've got the Flow Master, Christian Zahler, the new middleweight champion at Fighters Rep. Christian, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Good to be here.
Hey, I love having you guys here, man. So, before we really get into it, right, I want to know what happened from both of your perspectives. I just want to hear what happened from both of your perspectives. I'm going to tell it like I saw it, right? And then I want to hear, what you guys saw happening. For me, it looked like first minute and a half, it was, you guys were just exchanging and you guys were going at each other hard. I mean, you guys were going at each other. There was no feeling out process here. I saw David throw a right hook, slightly missed. He spun and he threw a spinning back fist with his left hand, landed clean, dropped you, Christian. I thought you were gone, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting there ringside. I said, "Uh-oh, that landed heavy." And everybody was reacting as if you were gone. You got back up. You took your time. You were measured. David went in for the kill. And as you were basically going backwards, you were very intuitive in the way you used the ropes. And you bounced off the ropes and threw a massive right hand. It landed flush, and that was the end of the fight. It was a fight that it was kill or be killed. Either David could have won by knockout or you could have won by knockout. So I'm going to ask you first, Christian. What are your thoughts on the way the fight went?
I would agree. In the beginning, it seemed pretty fair exchange. Up until the point where he landed that spinning back fist, which definitely took me off guard. And then coming off that, just like you would expect when people get a knockdown, they're going to move in quick to try to finish the job. And I just want to make sure you guys can hear me clear, right?
Yeah, no, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah. So, as
David,
always,
you can hear him good, right? David, you can hear him okay? Yeah.
Yeah, people want to finish the job. David was rushing me. A couple of those punches landed. A lot of them were just hitting right to the edge of my guard. And then found that opportunity to find my counter shot, which came off of the ropes, which was just perfect timing. And it's to me it was just good timing with David's just
Forward momentum.
forward momentum,
Yeah.
and just coming off that confidence from the knockdown.
Right. And it was impressive too because I mean David's got a hell of a chin. He's been fighting with us since the first Fighters Rep. I've never seen David hurt. I think it was the momentum from the both of you and the surprise that kind of caught David off guard. So it's, your perspective is interesting. David, kind of tell me, what you felt in the moment. Tell me your kind of version of the events at Fighters Rep 17.
So my version of the event. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. The fight was going my way. Looked like another regular Mr. Sinister show. I was hurting him. Dropped him with a body shot. They didn't count that one as a drop. All right. Missed with my little right hook. Spinning back fist landed. Saw it in his eyes. I was like, oh, he's done. I'm going in. And Yeah, he caught me with a fucking great shot. Um, in my opinion, it was the most, I wouldn't say the luckiest shot. It was great timing, but it was a 1 in 1,000 punch. And good for him. I'm glad he had his moment, but that's the only moment he's going to have.
I like it. I
Okay.
like it. I like it. Chris, yeah, Chris, I wanted to ask you, on that right hand, because that was a heavy right hand, and I think that's your power hand. Am I right? The right hand
It
is your
is.
power hand, or am I okay?
You're correct.
I see you've tattooed an elephant on that right
Yes.
hand. Is
Uh-huh.
there a reason there's an elephant on that right hand? Is it because it's your heavier hand? Is am I right about that, or am I just reading this
Uh,
incorrect?
no, but that's a good interpretation. No, this the elephant tattoos in memory of my sister who passed away in
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
in middle school. She had a mole on her finger, and she pretended her hand was an elephant. So I
I
got that
see.
reference to her.
I see. Well, may God rest her soul, man. And
But you could say my sister was there to help me out, maybe.
great fight, great fight. Listen, you guys are not really about bravado, right? You guys are two guys that are just excellent fighters, And the other thing I love about you guys is both of you kind of started, I want to say, your striking careers, especially at FightersRep. I mean, I know Christian, you had a couple PKBs and stuff like that, but I feel like you've really come along at
Mhm.
FightersRep, and I feel like you really started to grow, especially after your loss to Joshua Caldwell. It looks like, and David, same thing with you, man. You guys have become such dangerous strikers, and it's kind of created this situation, right, where at any time. At any time, one shot can end these fights now. We had 7 knockouts out of 14 at the last fight. Christian, what do you do? What do you do different this time? Because David's kind of right in that it may have been. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that may have been a 1 in 1,000 punch. The way you jumped off the ropes like that, you were hurt. He maybe didn't expect that coming. What do you do different this time, if anything, to retain that middleweight title that you have now?
I already have a set category of weapons in my arsenal, and I train them hundreds or thousands of different ways in different scenarios, and that sequence of events that came out is just basically the intuition of all repetition and different scenarios coming or unfolding. The training isn't necessarily going to be different because we train in such a wide variety of circumstances that I believe I have everything in my toolkit to handle any situation. If the ropes weren't there, then I would have had another opportunity to do something else. So yes, you are right in that sequence was 1 in 1,000,000. But if it wasn't the ropes, it would have been something else.
And David, you're holding up your hat. You're putting up 4 fingers, 3 fingers. Kind of tell me what you're doing over there. What are you trying to tell us here?
So he said he has a large variety of weapons in his arsenal. He has 4 strikes. 4 strikes. That's all he has. He said if the ropes weren't there, he would have had something else he could have done to finish that fight. Holding up my hat because that's cap. If the ropes weren't there, we would have been out cold in the next two shots.
I have a rebuttal. You
Let,
can't.
let me hear what you got to say about that, Christian.
There's a reason you got knocked out, and it's because we had a car crash sequence event. You
Yeah,
can't knock out
100%.
clean on the
100%.
back step as easy as you might think.
It wasn't a back step. It was you coming forward off the ropes. That forward momentum.
Right.
Yeah, I was crashing forward.
Right. That's why it was a knockout.
Yeah, for sure.
But to knock me out while I was moving back is much more difficult unless you have me stopped or moving towards you.
Yeah.
Now, David, it was almost immediate, and I got to give credit to you, man. You are like the Grim Reaper. I mean, you got right back up after what looked to me to be a very heavy and concerning knockout for me, and you were already telling me, and your coach, of course, shout out Tyler Wombles, shout out Chewy, Raw Talent Boxing, shout out
Don't forget
Cody at
XFit.
XFit. I didn't forget it. I didn't forget it. Shout out XFit. You know, right off the bat, you were telling me, I want this rematch. We want this rematch. Tyler Wombles was telling me, I want this rematch. You know, what is it you're seeing? What are you going to do different going forward to make sure that this doesn't happen again, to make sure that you get that middleweight title back from Zahler?
So, you know what? In a way, I think this is a little of a blessing. I would have hated to have a situation like this in my pro career. Once again, luckily this happened in my amateur career. Nobody really cares about an amateur career besides, you know, yourself. I got a little ego check right there. It was cool, nice and humbling. Next time it's going to be the exact same thing, except, you know, I guess tidy up when I'm going in for the kill. Yep.
Now, you did catch Christian with that spinning back fist. I mean, he didn't see that coming, but I felt like before that, you know, it was a very exciting exchange back and forth. I mean, so, you know, both of you kind of had these kind of crazy. I mean, I think that's what made the fight so exciting. Both of you had these crazy shots. Now, I've seen that spinning back fist from you before, David. I have seen that from you before, but you know, it is quite a thing of beauty to spin around and land that thing and drop the person with it on the first try. Is there anything else you guys are going to be relying upon? You know, anything different we're going to see going forward? I'll start with you, Christian.
No, I don't have a change to my game plan, really. It's going to be the same. I would imagine David's going to be pretty much the same, maybe just a little bit more flossed than last time, especially on finishing the kill. So I'm going to be preparing for David like I did last time.
And David?
I'm going to be preparing for a better Christian Zahler. Honestly, I thought he had nothing for me. I didn't think he was going to show up to the fight, if I'm being completely honest. Now I think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's like, you know what? I don't know if this was a fluke or not, so I got to prove it to myself. Yeah, and he has a little bit more confidence because he did knock me out.
That's interesting, you know, David. You said you weren't sure if he was going to show up to the fight. You know, you've kind of expressed this before, and we have had issues with people showing up to fight you in the past. I mean, you know, as the promoter, I will say I've had that issue. Why did you think Christian would not show up to the fight? And my second question for you is, and you mentioned you took him lightly. I was actually going to say, did you take him lightly? I mean, did you take Zahler lightly?
Honestly, I did not think this man had anything to bring to the table at all. I was like, all right, all I got to do is show up, and he's out. This is my fourth time being scheduled to fight him. He's pulled out twice before on me. Yeah, that's why I didn't think he was going to show up.
I see. And now that you've fought him, you know, let me follow up on that. Now that you've fought Christian, and like I said, you know, I felt like it was a very eventful first round. I mean, you guys were really going at it up until the fight ended. Is there something that surprised you about him? Is there anything that kind of caught you off guard about him? Do you have more respect for him now than you did before?
I think everyone's going to have more respect for someone after fighting them. For sure have a little bit more respect because he didn't go down like out cold with a couple strikes that I landed. He's more durable than I thought. So next time I'm going to bring more calculated strikes. He will go down.
By the way, before we continue, guys, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow Christian and David on Instagram. Their handles are basically on the bottom of the screen. I think Christian's may have a Z involved. Can you give him yours? Can you give him yours, Christian?
Yeah, it's flow_master_Z.
There you go.
Zebra.
Got you. And guys, you're not going to want to miss this fight. It's going down, the rematch, April 22nd. Get your tickets at FightersRep.com. No excuses not to be there. It's going to be a fantastic fight. Shout out to everyone in the chat. If any of you have any questions, I see a lot of comments in there. David, you're making people dizzy with all the moving around in the chair. They said, but if any of you have any questions for David, for Christian, feel free to drop it in there. We'll put it on the screen, and we'll ask them for it, or we'll ask them the question. Christian, how does it make you feel that David felt that you might pull out, you might not even show up to the fight? I mean, do you think he underestimated you?
Yeah, he did. It's always in my favor if they think that way. I wouldn't say I pulled out of the previous fights since I was just looking for other opportunities. And which we did have. We fought Caldwell. We fought Caldwell instead on the last time I heard his name.
Oh, I see. Now that's interesting because you mentioned at the end of the last fight with David that you were interested in fighting Caldwell. It looks like Caldwell is not available. But I mean, did you feel at the time that there was not really anything to prove against Rivera? And how do you feel now? I mean, you've decided to take the rematch. I think a lot of people want to see the rematch because they just felt like the circumstances of the fight were just so crazy. But what do you feel? I mean, do you feel like you kind of could have turned the page on this, or do you feel like, hey, this guy's calling me out, I want to shut him up, or I mean, how do you feel about this whole rematch?
It's nothing about him calling me out, but it's definitely in the sense of I just want to assert my dominance in this, so no one can say anything. And then as far as the Joshua Caldwell, I going into that fight, I was in a very bad headspace, based on maybe some nutritional issues in my weight cut. So I don't think I showed up for that fight because of some nutritional stuff, and I would just like to be there to perform on a second chance.
Yeah. And David, I mean, you'd been on a run. This is your first loss in a while. What does David do after a loss like this? I mean, do you go back to the drawing board? Do you work on new techniques? What is it that you're up to now at XFit and at Classic and at Raw Talent with Chewy? What is it you're doing?
So do the same thing, just learn, continue to grow. Right now, just swallow the pill, took this loss on the chin, literally, and just study and work on the shit I need to work on. I guess stop being so overzealous once you actually hurt people. Yeah.
So, I mean, is that the one thing you would change in hindsight? Is maybe take your time a little bit when you have someone hurt. Don't corner a wounded animal, so to speak.
So not necessarily take my time, choose my shots a little bit better. From my perspective, he was on his way out. The last two fights I had with you guys, it was exactly the same scenario. I was like, oh, I know what's happening. He's about to die. And yeah, that's just not what happened this time, man. I'll be a lot more calculated.
Did Christian have? I mean, I know the knockout was the result of pretty serious momentum from both sides, but I mean, did he have more power than you expected? I mean, did he feel powerful in there?
No. If I'm being honest, the most powerful person, actually, nobody really felt that strong, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Pablo was a big boy, but didn't really feel the shots too much. Claycomb surprised me a little bit. I was like, oh, that was a nice little jab right there. Making me suck my lips a little bit.
So Claycomb had some pop on his shots for you.
Claycomb had better pop for sure. I felt nothing that Christian was landing on me, if he even landed anything. A late kick and like two knees. Yeah.
And did you find that his height and his length gave you some problems?
Nah, not really. I'm a 55er, if we're being honest. I've been fighting at 70 for like the last 4 years and a half. So I'm kind of used to fighting these big boys. And at Classic, I'm always sparring these big ass motherfuckers. So it's nothing I haven't seen before.
Now, David, I want to ask you. I mean, Christian, I want to ask you too. Was there anything in there that surprised you about David? Was his power, what it seems to be? Because I mean, his last couple fights, he's been hurting people, and he's historically hurt people. I mean, did you feel the power in there? Was there anything about David that kind of caught you off guard, or anything you were surprised about?
No, I mean just based off of watching his previous fights, we know he swings hard. But when you're in there, you don't really feel anything.
Right. And I mean, maybe quickness, defense, anything at all caught you off guard about David?
I would say, yeah. Off the bat, he seemed a little more patient than I expected. Expected a little bit more of a rushed sequence of events, even off the first couple minutes. But
Right.
we decided to play the game a little bit more strategic in the beginning, and that's what I enjoy. So,
For sure. And you talk about strategy. I mean, you're representing Vital Force MMA and Muay Thai. You got your coach Lamancy McCurry. He's a great guy. What are his thoughts if you could share, what are his thoughts about the fight and the rematch and how you guys are planning to handle this thing?
basically everything that you asked me, we share the same idea, same
Mm,
thoughts.
got you.
I would say there's probably nothing I haven't said that he would probably agree with.
Got you. And David, I want to ask you too, because you've got a couple cooks in the kitchen there. You've got Tyler Wombles, you've got Chewy working on the hands, you've got Cody at XFIT. I mean, is there anything the coaches are telling you about this fight? What have they kind of told you about this fight and what to expect in the rematch?
So they, once again, just like Christian, kind of have the same opinion as me. Fight was going my way until it wasn't. Um, you can't really prepare for a shot like that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, maybe he wouldn't have hit me if my hands were just a little bit higher, just a little bit higher.
Yeah.
It would have been cool. I mean, I did everything right. I was slipping towards the right, throwing the right hand. Um, didn't touch this side. Barely touched me right here with like crooked arm like that. It's crazy, man. Um, we'll clean that up.
Christian, for the people that don't know, the people sitting on the fence, why should they buy tickets to Fighters Rep 18 and watch the rematch between you and David Rivera?
Well, first of all, I come from like a more of an MMA background, and this is something we even preach in back when I was training for that, is that we train to be entertaining fighters, and we always bring it to the table. We come fearlessly and don't hold back.
And David, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why should people? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you guys are two of the best middleweights around. Period. I think the first fight was one of the most explosive things I've ever seen in my life. Really, I guys, the crowd was on its feet for 10 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys noticed that. The crowd did not sit down for 10 minutes after your fight. I'm going to ask you, David, why should people come out and buy tickets to watch you take on Zahler?
I mean, you already know I always put on a motherfucking show. So you gotta come in, buy some motherfucking tickets, add David Rivera for who you came to see. I'm gonna finish him. I was on my way to finish him this last fight. Got caught by, you know what? I'm gonna say a great punch because that's what it was. It was a fucking great punch. It was whatever. I'm gonna finish him. He's probably gonna retire after this from kickboxing. Yeah, you can get part three
I,
too
I
if you want later. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I love the confidence, but I also love the warrior code, and you actually giving him credit for that punch,
After,
David. I got a lot of respect for you with that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gotten your tickets to Fighters Rep 18, it's going to be at the Ballroom at the Commerce Casino. It's going to be incredible. Christian Zahler and David Rivera, too. They're going to be headlining this card. This is not a card that anyone should miss at all. Before I let you guys go, listen, I really appreciate your time. Uh, Christian, I want to ask you, man, is there anyone you want to shout out, anyone you want to thank, and anything you want to say? The floor is yours before we let you go.
Yeah, shout out to my coach, Coach Lee Mance McCurry at Vital Forts. Shout out to my teammates, everyone that showed up to comp class, everyone that showed up to sparring. continue to show up for sparring. We're gonna need you, and we're also gonna need you at the show. Buy tickets. Flowmaster Z at checkout. Shout out to my family. They're big supporters in helping me sell tickets. My mom, my girlfriend, and shout out to my sister because she'll be mad if I don't say that. It's my little sister Grace.
And David, same question to you, man. Anyone you want to shout out, anyone you want to thank, and then the floor is yours. You can say whatever you want to say.
I mean, you already know. Thank you, not thank you. Shout out to all my teammates, my coaches at Expert. I want to give a shout out to Rodney Hickerson. He's always there to weight with me. I wouldn't be able to drop the pounds if it wasn't for him. Shout out to Chuy Gutierrez from Raw Talent Boxing. I was at right here. Classic Fight Team, Charlie Wambos. Shout out to June Lee Kickboxing, LA Muay Thai, David Huerta. Shout out to Cody Sessions, he's right here. Big shout out to all my sponsors too. There's too many to name, so go to my Instagram at I guess David. I'll list them out right there. Big shout out to all my supporters, my family. I fucking love you guys, and come watch me knock out Christian Zahler.
I love it, man. I love it, guys. Again, get your tickets at FightersRep.com. And you guys brought up a great point. If you put their names in at checkout where it asks, who did you come to see, their gyms will get credit. So be sure you do that when you buy your tickets online or buy your tickets directly from the fighter. And any fighter you come to see, you could put their name in at checkout and their gym will get credit. Dan Productions is in here. He says some people obviously didn't see the whole fight. I think I should upload the entire thing so people could get to see it again. Guys, all our fights are free on YouTube. We upload them for free afterwards on YouTube. But if you want to watch them live, you can just get the live stream. It's $9.99 a month. But of course, you should make the fight, because this is not a fight that anybody should miss. I think this is definitely the most anticipated fight in this community, if you ask me, going forward. And I absolutely cannot wait to see this fight. I want to thank both of you again for doing this with me. I want to wish good skill to the both of you. I really love being able to promote you guys, and I think you guys are special talents. And whatever happens on April 22nd, which I think it's going to be explosive again, I just want you guys to know, I think both of you just keep going upward, man. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity to put this fight together, and I look forward to watching you guys throw down on April 22nd.
Likewise. Thank you, George.
All right, guys. Well, everybody, thank you so much. Listen, if you have any more questions, drop it in the comment section below. Again, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get in touch with the fighters, follow them on Instagram. There's their screen names right there at the bottom of the screen. Basically, just add his D to Christian's over here. And, give them a follow, show them some love. If you're a sponsor, hey, you want your logo on their stuff, reach out to them. Reach out to me. I can make it happen if you can't reach them, but you should be able to. And we'll see you guys April 22nd for the most anticipated kickboxing rematch that I think anyone could think of. Christian Zahler versus David Rivera, 2 for the middleweight title. Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you guys joining me.
Later, guys.